So this is actually round 2 of filming this video, and if you're here from Instagram, apologies that this has taken me so long, but one of my most asked questions is always how I got started vlogging and what tips I have for people that are just getting started. And it's obviously a very long-winded answer, and it's not something that's easy to just answer in a DM. So I decided I wanted to make a video where I could really talk as long as I wanted and give you super in-depth answers, and that way I can just refer people back to it and have like all of my thoughts out in one place. So this might be part 1 because I know I'm going to talk a lot, but this is going to be how I got started and tips that I have for people who want to start vlogging or have just started or are trying to grow their following on Instagram. So I had a friend who was vlogging. She had been doing it for a few years and she had a small following and she wasn't yet really making full-time money from it. And I started helping her because I had free time, I had days off from my job, and I also just really wanted to help her because she was always broke and she was trying to make it her full-time job. And honestly, when I would be like, let's go out to the bar on the weekend, she would be like, I can't afford drinks or I can't afford an Uber. So I started helping her take photos. I started helping her manage the business end of things, and it grew into kind of like a little side hustle for me. And I was kind of like her assistant / manager, even though I had no business like doing that. I didn't know what I was doing being a manager, but I was helping her for a while, and finally she suggested that I just do it on my own. I was really uncomfortable, I think like a lot of people are in the beginning, with like putting myself out on the internet, taking photos. It's extremely difficult to just post photos of yourself when you don't know how to pose and what you like and how to do your makeup and all that stuff that helps with taking a good photo. So she just kind of pushed me into it, and I was super uncomfortable in the beginning, but I always had a passion for fashion. That sounds so cheesy. I was passionate about that. That was what my previous job was, and I've always loved beauty and hair and giving advice, and I've always loved sharing things that I'm obsessed with and pushing them on other people. So once it started working and I started slowly growing, I was hooked and I was totally over the uncomfortable parts of it. I got is how to start a blog, like an actual website, and I highly suggest having this and not relying solely on Instagram. But there are people who only have Instagram, or they focus on other platforms like YouTube and whatever, so you don't have to have a blog. But I think that if you enjoy writing and you have like longer form content that you want to share with people, that's a really good place to do it, because you own your website, you don't own your Instagram, and it could disappear technically. So my blog is via wordpress.org. It gets confusing because there's wordpress.com and wordpress.org, and they are not the same, but mine is via wordpress.org. I do find it to be a very confusing platform if you don't have any experience with like websites, but I have been able to figure it out on my own by Googling things and just the internet and YouTube. So it's totally possible. The reason I went with that is because I've been told it's way easier to customize as opposed to some other websites like Wix or Squarespace, which are more user friendly, but down the line, if you want to have like a more robust professional website, it might be harder to do customizations on them. So that's just what I got started with. But I honestly, if you have anyone around you that can give you tips, or anyone that's built a website before, lean on them. But otherwise, Google and YouTube are your best friends, and you can do it too. There is no right or wrong way to do it. Just start posting. I can't remember if this is another question down the line, but as far as making a new account or building on the one you already have that's your personal account, I just stuck with my personal because I already had like 2,000 followers. I didn't want to throw those 2,000 followers away and start from zero. And also, those people that know you in real life are more likely to engage with your content, and then you at least have like a small group of people that are already supporting you and engaging with you. I know that for some people it's really scary because the people in real life are actually the people you fear the most, like when you're putting yourself out there and you think that they might judge you or make fun of you. But to be honest, it's really easier said than done, but you just have to get over that, because or even if you make a new account, like, and you start to grow, they are probably going to see it anyway. And I don't know, who cares what people think? They're going to be coming back at you when your account grows, asking you to be your friend and to get a drink and tips on how you grew your account. Like, that's exactly what happened to me. All the people that I thought were judging me are now reaching out to me, asking me for something, or just like wanting to connect, and feels very good. But it was also very nerve-wracking when I was just starting. So I'm rambling, but just start posting. Have your sister or your boyfriend or your friend, anyone, help you take photos and just start experimenting. I know that it's hard in the beginning. Like, what am I trying to say? Don't worry so much about like having it all figured out. Just post and you'll figure it out as you go, and you'll figure out what your aesthetic is and how you like to take photos, and all of that will come. And I know that it feels like the end of the world every time you post. You want it to be perfect, but I look back now at my old posts and I think they are so bad, and at the time I thought they were so good. So just know that no matter what, you're going to grow and evolve, and you're always going to look back at your content and hate it. So just put yourself out there and be proud of what you're putting out there, and don't worry about everything being so perfect, because you want to be relatable, not perfect. So you can try and go on their website and find a PR or influencer contact. Sometimes they'll have that thing on their website. But if not, I usually just DM brands, and you can even, I think if you have a business or a creator account on Instagram, you can save templates. So I have different templates saved, and I just kind of customize them a little bit before I send it. But I will just DM a brand and, you know, explain to them that I'm a fan, and or like a big fan of the brand, and ask if there's a good email contact that I can reach out to about working together. And sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't, but it's easier to get an email that way. If it's not on the website, I don't know how else you would get it other than DMing them. So that is how I would reach out to brands, but brands will also start to reach out to you as your following grows. As far as when to start reaching out to brands, I always like to think of it this way, as you want to make sure that you're also providing them value. So in the beginning, when you work with brands, it's usually just on a gifting basis. So they'll gift you product in exchange for you posting or sending them content or doing stories or blog posts, etc. So you just want to make sure that what you're able to give them in return is worth it. So let's say they're sending you $300 worth of product. Are you giving them like $300 worth of work in exchange? So are you giving them either high quality photos that they might be able to repurpose and use on their Instagram or website, or do you have enough followers and enough of an engaged audience that you might actually sell to your audience or bring some brand awareness to them? Because that's really what they're looking for. So I think I started reaching out when I had maybe 4,000 to 5,000 followers. I think you have to have at least a few thousand, if I'm being honest. And I know that might sound discouraging, people that are starting with zero or starting with only a few hundred, but this is definitely a very long process to get. It's definitely a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of waiting before you reap the benefits. So I guess I'm not trying to be discouraging at all, but just know that it's definitely not a quick and easy thing. So no, not at all. I never bought things just for the sake of shooting them. So like I said, I did have a friend who was blogging already, and she was getting quite a bit of stuff gifted to her. So a lot of times I would borrow things from her to shoot, but also I would just shoot my own things that I already had. So a lot of times I would also just shoot my own clothes that I already had. And here's the thing, don't get stuck on feeling like you need to have new clothes or they need to be currently in the store. In the beginning, just show people your style and show how you can put things together. Like, there are bloggers who post thrifted things and one-of-a-kind pieces that no one could ever get. So just focus on showing your style and or whatever it is, your makeup, you know. But no, you don't have to be constantly buying new things. Like, I was posting my friends' clothes, I was posting old clothes of mine. They definitely weren't things that were current and in the stores and linkable, but that's completely fine in the beginning. You're also providing people inspo. So even though they might not be able to shop the exact piece you're wearing, you're inspiring them to put together an outfit similar or find similar pieces. So don't feel like you need to break the bank to get started. Don't feel like you need to buy a ton of new things. I don't think that's the case at all, and I think you can definitely get started with what you already have. This goes along the same lines as when to start reaching out to brands. You want to make sure that you're able to provide value in return. So for me, I personally didn't start charging, and I say charging, I say that very lightly because in the beginning I tried to charge, but most brands will still just try to give you gifting in exchange. That's just unfortunately how this industry is. You kind of have to like pay your dues before you really start to make money. But I started trying to charge when I had 10,000 followers. And at that point, my rate that I would ask for was $100. So a good rule of thumb is you can charge $100 per 10,000 followers you have. So if you have 5,000 followers, $50. If you have 10,000 followers, $100. If you have 15,000 followers, $150, etc. And then there are different factors that affect that. Like if you have really good engagement, you can go up. You know, maybe it's holiday season or Coachella, you can go up a little bit. There's all different things. If you know that your sales are extremely high and you can prove that, you can go up. But that's a good like baseline. Not to say that you will always get that, not to say that every brand will agree with that, but that's a good baseline to create a rate with. So I started trying to charge when I had 10,000 followers, but there were still like very few and far between brands that were willing to actually pay me, even though my rate was so low. So I would say I started trying to charge then, but I started actually making money closer to when I had 30,000 followers. And even then, there are still going to be brands that just won't pay you. Either they don't have budget, or maybe they don't pay influencers that are smaller than a certain amount, whatever it is. But you just have to like weigh the benefits and see if it's worth it for you in other ways. So yeah, I mean, I think you can start charging if you want at 5,000, but just know that it's difficult and not all brands feel like they need to pay micro influencers for some reason, and it sucks. Okay, so there's a few different ways. One of them, which I highly suggest that everyone who's starting out signs up for this, is Reward Style. So this is an app. If you don't know, it's like the Like to Know It app, but Reward Style is the back end for bloggers and influencers. So basically, you can get a very small commission when you sell something that you linked through the app. So it'll let you link all the clothing you're wearing, and most brands participate with it. Most bigger brands, a lot of the smaller ones don't. But so you can link everything on the app, and then when you send out a link, if someone purchases something from your link, you get a small commission, but it does add up. So that's one way, is through commission and affiliate links. And there are other affiliate programs besides Reward Style, but that's just the largest one. Then the other way is through sponsored posts. So this is a brand paying you to post about their product. Another way would be through blog posts, also through photo shoots. So sometimes brands will hire you to be their model. Okay, so through Reward Style and commissionable links and affiliate links, sponsored posts, sponsored stories, sponsored blog posts, and then modeling, and then content creation. A lot of times brands will pay you to create content for their Instagram or for their website. Those are the main ways. This one, obviously, the most asked question is tips for growing your Instagram. So I would say the number one thing is to be consistent. So pick a posting schedule that is realistic for you and stick to it. So whether that's every day, every other day, 5 times a week, whatever it is, just make sure that you're being consistent with your posts. Don't do like 3 times one day and then not post again for a few days, or don't be posting like 4 days in a row and then 3 days off. If you're going to do that, try to make it like every other day. Just something that is attainable for you and try to stick to it. I would say try to utilize stories as well as posting, but don't just story for the sake of storying, meaning don't just story like your 10 frames of the concert you went to. Try to story things that are relevant or interesting, things that you are knowledgeable on or can share about, or that might be helpful for other people, or just things that will allow people to get to know you better. You definitely want to show your personality, because there are tons of girls on Instagram that are just cute and have good style and do their makeup well, etc. But you need something for people to latch onto. So you really want to try to show your personality or show different things about yourself that will make you more memorable, if that's a word. I don't think that's a word. The other thing is, I'm not going to say pick a niche, because especially in the beginning, I think it can be kind of hard to figure out what exactly direction you're going. But try to stay true to yourself. Don't just make your aesthetic a certain way or dress a certain way because you think other people are doing that and that's what you should do. It's like actually the complete opposite. You don't want to blend in with everyone else. So stick to what you know. You know, if you're really good at makeup, then talk about makeup. If you're really good at cooking, then post about cooking. If you're into like health and fitness, then talk about that and share workouts and share wellness things. And if you're into fashion, share that. But just try to share things that you are actually passionate about and that you're actually knowledgeable about, and just try to always provide value with your posts. So don't post just for the sake of posting. Try to help or inform or make your community laugh. Like, you always want to be providing some type of value. What else? Tips for growing on Instagram. Convert to a business or creator account right away, because you want to be able to see your analytics, and that will help you to know that, like, to know what's working, what isn't, kind of. You want to look at what times of day your audience is most active, and then try to post your feed posts at those times of day so that you have the chance of more people seeing it and engaging with it. Engage with other people. So engage with other creators that are the same size as you. I'm not saying don't engage with larger creators, but the bigger you are, the more followers you have, the longer your list of notifications is on your phone, and things get lost in there. So if you're like constantly commenting on someone's post who has hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, they might not see it. But if you're commenting on someone's post who has like 10,000 followers, they're probably going to see it. They're probably going to comment back. They're going to start to recognize your name. They might go check out your account, etc. So just try to engage with other creators that are like-minded, trying to do the same thing. And I feel like you'll start to see like more people discover you that way. I don't recommend doing any of those engagement pods because, one, they are technically against Instagram's terms of service, and you just don't really want to do anything to piss off Instagram. I think that there are ways that they can track them even if the engagement pod isn't in Instagram, but regardless, you just want all of your engagement to be organic. You don't want it to be people who have like agreed to like your post. So I would say engage with other people. Make sure you respond back to all your comments and your DMs in a timely manner. I would say try to engage within the first hour of posting your photo. Try to make sure you comment back to people and go engage in other posts. Share your posts to Pinterest. So you can actually Google different ways to like optimize Pinterest for growth and to drive traffic to other websites so you can drive traffic to other websites like your Instagram or your blog. So you can Google that, or you can even look on Pinterest. There are like guides and all sorts of things to help you. I think that's really good. Okay, my camera just shut off, so hopefully it stays on now. I don't know if like the battery's dead or what, but continuing. So tips for growing on Instagram. Okay, another thing I have is to make sure you're tagging all the brands you're wearing to get more exposure to those brands and a potential for a repost. When you're first starting out, getting reposted by a brand is huge and can give you so many followers. I remember getting reposted by Free People. That was like my first big account that reposted me, and I got hundreds of followers, and it was insane. So make sure you're tagging all the brands that you're wearing. Try to use their hashtags if you have any, like Urban Outfitters, for example, is hashtag UO on you, so Urban Outfitters on you. So try to use like relevant brand hashtags, make sure you're tagging all the brands. I feel like those are my main tips for growing when you're just starting out. This one can be hard. It took me a long time. I look back at my old content and I hate it. I hate where I shot, like I hate how I cropped the photo, I hate how I edited the photo. So I feel like this one is just trial and error. It's really helpful to go on Pinterest and make different boards of things that inspire you and try to like hone in on what you want, and I don't know, look at other people's feeds and see what you would want your feed to look like, but something that's attainable. So, you know, some people only shoot in front of light backgrounds like whites and creams, and some people have tons of blank space and blank walls, whereas others like to shoot in front of really busy things and have a busy feed. Some people are really beach people, some people are super city people, and this all plays into your feed and the colors that you use, but just experiment and don't let it hold you back. I will say that it was always the hardest for me to shoot when I was getting caught up in like my aesthetic and what it might look like on my feed, and like, oh my god, I need to have this color or I can't shoot in front of that. And so just experiment with it, and definitely use an app to plan out your feed and to have it looking all cohesive if that's something that you care about. But yeah, Instagram, do some research, make a mood board, and just have fun with it and experiment, and it'll come over time. It's not something that you can always hone in on right away. This, I feel like I've kind of touched on already, but I would say just try to share things that you are knowledgeable on, passionate about, that you can offer something to your audience. So, I don't know, take a step back and ask yourself, like, what made you want to get started? Is it that you feel like you can really share, like, how you put together outfits? Is it beauty? You know, think about what it is that you want to share with people. I think for me, it took a minute to realize that I am petite. I mean, I knew I was petite, but that I can share my tips for petite girls. And now I feel like I have a very large following of petite girls who look out for me to find where the jeans that aren't going to be too long on them are, and where the dresses that'll be the right length and the right size and all of that. So I sort of honed in on that. That's not my only thing I focus on, but I just think to figure out what it is that you want to offer and stick to that. And just because you see someone else over here sharing their makeup looks or sharing their cooking doesn't mean you have to if that's not something that you are already interested in. Again, I feel like I've kind of touched on this. I don't think that you need to necessarily like be so different in order to stand out from everyone else. Like, don't go out of your way to do something just to be different and to stand out. If you are someone who typically, you know, wears more unique outfits or does the odd thing out, then of course keep that up. But if you're someone that does the same things as the rest of us basic bees, and I don't mean that as an insult, I'm calling myself basic, then don't try to change that just to stand out. I think a way you can really stand out is by showcasing your personality and letting that shine through. I feel like when I'm following all these girls, like if there's someone I'm attached to and they story all day long and I know about their life, not their wife, but you know what I mean? If I know about their life and their boyfriend and that they just moved to a new apartment and their struggle with acne or that they're vegan, like whatever it is, if I know these things about them that I can kind of like attach to them as a person, I am way more likely to keep following them as opposed to the person who I know nothing about besides that she's beautiful and takes beautiful photos. And I just think every once in a while I go through my followers and unfollow people who are no longer inspiring me and whatnot. And if I'm following someone who maybe like their aesthetic has changed. I'm not as into it anymore, but I've been following along with their dog and their kid and whatever. Like that usually keeps me following. And the other thing is that helps me remember people. So if someone is sharing about their life and I can put personality and a face and a name together, you know, someone might be like, oh, did you see that so-and-so did this? And sometimes I'm like, no, who's that? I don't even know if I follow her. But if I remember all these things about your life, then I'm going to know who you are and what your name is and remember you and look for your posts and just be more attached. So I think show your personality, like be your silly self, be your funny self, whatever it is. Show people that, and don't just try to be like perfect and cookie cutter all the time, because that is the last thing that you want. This is another thing. Canva. First of all, Canva is good for everything. It's like graphic design for dummies kind of, but Canva is definitely a good place to actually format it. And I would look up examples. I'm sure you can find these on Pinterest or if you just Google, but you want it to go along with your aesthetic. You want it to have some photos of your best work. You want it to have all of your Instagram stats. And if you didn't know this, there are websites where you can look up your exact statistics, engagement rate, things like that. A really good one is called Social Blade. So you can type in your username and it'll tell you what your engagement is, like all things like that about your Instagram profile. So you want to have that. You want to have your average likes. All those things can also be found on that website. And you want to have a bio. I suggest, if you're not good at writing or good at writing about yourself, having someone close to you write it and then you tweak it. So I had my older sister write it and then I tweaked it because I found it really, really hard to like describe myself and what I was about in a paragraph, and she did such a good job. So it's always nice to have an outsider perspective. But yeah, you can Google all the things that are supposed to be on it, but basically you want all your stats, you want any notable brand partnerships, you just want to like show off your best work, your best images, all the good things. Yes and no. I pay attention to, like I said, like when my followers are on Instagram most, and I pay attention to like what posts get better engagement. Like I look at all of them and I take them all into consideration, but at the same time I'm not going to let it bring me down, or I try not to at least. But I think they can be super helpful, and obviously it's nice to know where you stand for when you're putting stats on a media kit, like is my engagement rate high or low, and is my average amount of likes, all that stuff. So it's nice to know where you stand that way. And it's nice to set goals for yourself. Like one of my goals this year has been to get my story views up, because I thought that I had high story views for a while. Then it's like they plateaued. So I had really high story views, but then my following got super high and my story views stayed the same. So I made it a goal for myself to try and get my story views up. Not that you can really fully control anything about Instagram because it has a mind of its own, but I made that goal, so I was definitely super honed in on what they were and what made them go up on certain days, etc. So I pay attention to them, but don't harp on them because they can drive you insane, and don't compare yourself because that'll also drive you insane. I think I touched on this a bit, but I'm assuming like this means gain the confidence to post when you're small, and a lot of your audience is people that you know in real life and you're scared of them judging you. So I think just know that everyone goes through that phase, pretty much everyone, and you shouldn't be ashamed. It's actually something super admirable. You're going after a goal of yours, you're pursuing something you're passionate about, you're starting a hobby, like whatever it is. I don't think you should be ashamed, and I don't know why there's this huge stigma around taking photos of yourself or posting yourself on the internet, because at the end of the day, we are the center of our own worlds, and we're all obsessed with ourselves, and we all like to take pictures. Like, no one doesn't like a good picture of themselves, and no one doesn't like putting it on the internet and getting good feedback. So just know that if anyone's criticizing you, it's most likely coming from a place of jealousy for whatever reason, and they're usually just a reflection of like their own insecurities. And if you want it bad enough, then you just have to block out everyone else and do you, and keep moving forward and try to ignore anything. I know that's easier said than done. It definitely scared me so much in the beginning, but you just have to keep people around you that are positive and encouraging you, and try to block out the rest. And trust me, if it all works and you start growing, those will be the same people that are DMing you wanting to hang out. So this one is obviously super hard, and I don't know at what point it was when I just stopped caring completely, and now like nothing phases me. I literally don't get embarrassed shooting in public anymore, but I definitely used to. So I don't know, this one is honestly like practice and time. Like there's no quick fix, but it's the same thing. You have to realize that you're pursuing a hobby or a passion, and you shouldn't be ashamed about that. As long as you're not like interrupting people using a flash or like asking them to move, then you're not really doing anything wrong. I think definitely be respectful, especially when you're in like a restaurant or something like that. But if people are staring at you, I like to make eye contact and wave and stare back, because that usually makes them stop. I mean, in the beginning, I would just stop posing until people weren't around me anymore, but that's not the most time efficient thing to do. So I think just know that it gets better. I promise you, it will not always feel so hard and embarrassing. I feel like that's one I get a lot. And the answer to this is just, if you want it bad enough, you will make it work. So batch your content. So shoot on the weekends on Friday and Saturday, and shoot enough content that you have something to post throughout the week. Yeah, I mean, I would just say like make the weekends for Instagram and blogging, and do your full-time job during the week and during the days, and then nighttime as well. You can work on Instagram and blogging. It is definitely possible. I know so many girls that honestly even still have like a large following and make a full-time income from Instagram, but still have another full-time job because they're just passionate about both. It is so possible. I think you just have to want it bad enough. Like, would you rather go to brunch with your friends on Saturday afternoon, or would you rather spend a few hours shooting your content so that you have it for the week? So I think it's definitely gonna have to make sacrifices, but it's totally possible. This is another thing you can Google, like how to pitch brands, but you want to introduce yourself, you want to give a little bit of background, where you live, what kind of blogger you are, what you specialize in, maybe a few quick stats, especially if they're ones that you're particularly proud of. You can talk about your engagement rate or something like that. You want to talk about like your relationship with the brand. So if you've been buying it for a long time, or if you just discovered it, whatever it is, tell them why you're reaching out, why you love the brand, and why you think it would resonate with your following. So maybe you're reaching out to Forever 21 and you know that your followers are always looking for bargains, or something along those lines. Maybe you're reaching out to a high-end brand and you know that your following really likes those like one-of-a-kind designer pieces or something like that. So tell them why you're reaching out, and then be specific about what you're asking of them. So are you just asking them to gift you in exchange for posts and content? Are you asking to be paid? Whatever it is, are you just asking to be on their PR list? So just be specific about that, and yeah, you'll get better at it. I like to have a template for my pitches that I save in my emails, but then I customize a few sentences in it. I think the most important thing to know, and again, this is not to sound discouraging in any way, I'm just trying to be 100% real, is that you shouldn't be in this for the wrong reasons. And now I feel like I sound like I'm on The Bachelor, but I really think this is the most important thing. I get all sorts of messages from girls, and sometimes it'll be like, how can I get free things sent to me from brands? And so if you're only in it because you see all the free things that get sent and you want that, then I don't think it's going to work out long term. Or if you think that it's like a super easy job, or you just see rich bloggers, like, I just think be in it for the right reasons. Be in it because you have something that you're passionate about that you want to share, and you feel like you could add value to people's lives. I think if you're just in it for the money, or because you think it's an easy job, or for all the free things, then it's really not going to work out long term. First of all, this is far from easy. I feel like I work way, way, way more hours than a typical 9-to-5 job. Like, I definitely don't work 40 hours a week. I usually work 7 days a week. I work way more than 8 hours a day. I can never shut it off. And that's not to say that every blogger is the same. Like, there are people who are way better at work-life balance than I am, but it takes a ton of hard work and dedication. It takes a really long time to grow your Instagram account organically, and to have good engagement, and to connect with your audience and have them like trust you and go to you. There's definitely tons of ups and downs. It's kind of like uncharted territory. You know, we're doing a job that didn't exist 10 years ago. So everything is new. There's no road path. There's no one giving you promotions and telling you what you need to do to get to the next step. It's hard to be your own boss and to work from home and to keep yourself motivated and not compare yourself and get discouraged. So basically just make sure you're in it for the right reasons, because if you think it's just like a quick, easy thing and you want the clout or you just want to be famous, like, I honestly don't think it's going to work out for you long term. So I would say most important thing to know is that you really want to do this for the right reasons, because you have something to share, you have knowledge to share, you feel like you can make people laugh, you feel like you can teach people something, whatever it is. Just don't be in it for free stuff and money and because you think it's easy. So this just started happening organically for me. I would say in the beginning, I did have a lot of friends who were bloggers, so I would go to events as their plus one. That's totally not possible for everyone. Another thing to note is that I feel like events really only happen in major cities. So if you don't live in a major city, then brands probably aren't going to have you on like their event invite list because they don't think you're able to attend. So if you do live like if you lived outside of LA, for example, and you were willing to drive in for events, I would just tell people that you lived in LA. I would put in your bio LA just to kind of get on brands' radar. I think I started getting invites when I had around 10,000 followers, and just like slowly PR companies and brands will just start to reach out to you. But if you do know of an event happening, you could always reach out to the brand and ask if they have any room on the guest list. If you do have any friends in the industry, you can always ask to be their plus one. Yeah, it'll just happen naturally. Don't stress about it. So always try to be obviously super professional and upfront. So one thing I think that can get people in trouble is a lot of, and this is on the brand's fault as well for not communicating better, but sometimes brands send you free things and you don't ever talk about it, but they just assume that you're going to do a post in exchange. So I think you need to be really upfront about that kind of thing. If a brand is just gifting you, you need to talk about upfront whether you're doing a post in exchange, stories in exchange, none of the above, like sending them a photo in exchange, whatever it is. I just think iron that all out ahead of time so that there's no sticky situations. And as far as like, I feel like there's a lot of brands that some girls will say like, I can't tell if this is legit or not. If you have to question it, it's probably not legit. See if they have a website in their bio or in their email. See if the website looks legitimate. If they're asking you to do like a ton of work, or if they're asking you to pay for anything, it's probably not legit. I've never had to pay for something in order to work with a brand in my life. That's the best way to do that. I think I touched on this, but basically a good rule of thumb is $100 per 10,000 followers that you have. And then if you have above average engagement, you can go up a little bit for that. And then there's other factors that play into it. But if you're just starting out and you have 5,000 followers, I think you should be charging $50 for a post, and then, you know, maybe a little more for stories. If you have 10,000 followers, I think, you know, you want to do a post and 3 stories for a brand, $150. I think that's a good way to just start in the beginning. So hashtags are really good, but make sure you're not overusing the same ones because Instagram can flag that as spam. So try to be using ones that are relevant and unique to each photo. And you can get super specific. Like you can be like hashtag denim, hashtag Doc Martens, hashtag spring outfit, you know, hashtag California, whatever it is. You can get specific with it. But just try not to continue to use the same exact ones over and over in every photo. I think that tagging a location really helps. I said this before, but pin your photos to Pinterest and to different group boards. Tag all the brands you're wearing. Try to post during optimal times of day. Try to also do stories. And I like to share my feed posts to my stories. And then pay attention to your analytics. Like if you have one photo that did really well, try to figure out what it is. Is it that you were smiling in that photo? Was your hair a certain way? And try to figure out what people are engaging with and why. and then listen to your audience. Like if they're telling you they want a certain thing from you, try to do that. I don't know. Instagram is honestly so difficult. You can't predict it or the algorithm, and sometimes it has nothing to do with anything you were doing. It's just literally Instagram being a bitch. So hey, my camera shut off again, so stunning. No, because I would be drowning in clothes. I try to kind of have a system, and if it's not something that I love, or if I already have something similar, then I just donate it or put it in the Poshmark pile, because I could never keep everything that gets gifted. My boyfriend would kill me because he already wants to kill me because of how many things I have. So no, they either go on my Poshmark or they get donated, and a lot of the things on my Poshmark are completely brand new or have been worn and shot once, so that's really cool. So I feel like this totally varies, like person to person. I personally, it's like on one hand, if I really want something, I'm gonna buy it for myself, but on the other hand, I get so much gifted that sometimes I feel guilty buying things because it's like I don't really need this. But I would say probably like 70% gifted, 30% purchase on my own. So you definitely need an app to plan out your feed. I like to use Mosaico, but there's also Planoly and then one called Plan with 2 N's that I really like. So after I shoot, I'll go through all my pictures and I'll select my favorites, and then I'll add my favorites to the app and kind of just move them around and see what works. You can always add in filler photos because those definitely help with having like an aesthetically pleasing feed. It depends how strict you want to be with it. Like some people only stick to certain color palettes, and some people have a very busy feed. Some people have a more minimal feed. So play around with it, and honestly, it's a struggle of mine because usually having a perfect feed means like posting less for me, like posting less and being super specific about what I am posting, and then I don't like how that makes me feel like when I'm just so obsessed with my feed. So I haven't had a feed that I'm obsessed with in a really long time, but I'd rather be posting, to be honest. So don't get so caught up in that. It can actually drive you insane. So the short answer to this is absolutely not. Basically, even though there are tons of people that still do it, there are very easy ways to find out. Brands have different like platforms and things like that will be able to spot fake followers super easily. There's all sorts of things that you wouldn't even think about, ways that you can tell. There's different apps, there's services that you can pay for that just kind of expose that kind of thing on the back end. So no, don't do it. I mean, there are definitely some brands that will fall for it and who will think that you're legitimate, but if you're really trying to make a long-term sustainable career out of this, then don't do it. It's not, it's not going to work. Like, the engagement will be real. People will be able to tell. Instagram is only getting smarter, and it might even hurt you, because if Instagram can tell that you're buying fake followers, likes, views, etc., it's going to hinder your account. They could completely delete your account and block it and ban you, or they could just choose to not show your content to any of your real followers. So I don't know, there's so many repercussions. I can spot when people have fake followers from a mile away, and I just don't think it's worth it. I've never done it, and I don't really respect people that do. I feel like it undermines those of us who have like worked hard for an organic following, and yeah, just don't do it. So I think I just have to let it roll off my shoulders. Luckily, I don't get much, but occasionally here or there's a comment that really strikes a chord with me. But the thing is, you can't please everyone. You will never be able to make everyone happy. And the other thing is, when people are criticizing you or bullying you or saying mean things to you, it's usually just a reflection of their own insecurities, and you have to remember that. So you just can't take it personally. Unless it's coming from someone that really knows you in real life, then I wouldn't think twice about it. Oh my god. My nail just bent in half. Quarantine is kicking my butt. My nails are so ugly. But last question is, how do I find blogger friends? And just DM girls that are like doing the same thing as you, that are trying to grow, that are on the same size, that live in your town, and ask them to go to coffee, ask them to shoot. That's how I met some of my best friends now. And honestly, it's so nice to have friends that doing the same thing as you, that you can shoot with, that you can like bounce ideas off of and ask for advice, and I highly recommend. So that's it. I literally am like so winded and thirsty because I feel like I've been talking for like 45 minutes straight, but I really hope this was helpful. I hope that I answered all of your questions, and if you guys have any follow-up questions, I will definitely do a part 2, but let me know if it was helpful, and let me know if there's any other blogging topics or just topics in general that you want me to cover, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching.